Hi friends, today I wanted to talk about balancing what I say in the office. I think in a previous video I mentioned how there's a culture here where people listen into other people's conversation a lot more than I expected. Sometimes even being pulled into a conversation under the assumption that they were listening in. Well, recently I've noticed that it's a lot more prevalent than I expected, and I've been experiencing people jumping into my conversations or into other people's conversations uninvited, even though and each time, like, I was surprised that they were listening in, or that they would jump in at that point, kind of thing. And I guess maybe it's a lot more common regard this kind of office environment, no matter where you are in the world. But I guess it was just kind of a lot more than I've ever expected or experienced, at least in my life. So this, of course, it's kind of made me a little bit more sensitive, I think, to what I should be saying. I try not to be, but I could also understand why people become even more weary of what they are saying, no matter what, wherever they are. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's just a new experience for me. um and maybe it works. Maybe that kind of is what keeps balance within the office, because you're always under the assumption that people are listening. But at the same time, it kind of makes everyone feel like they're connected, maybe in the mistakes people make, or in the discoveries they make, or just any experience that the people are having. It can be shared through this kind of almost radar like presence, that everyone's checking in on each other. But at the same time, I think it could also be very negative, if there's a culture that kind of especially promotes everyone to be an ideal Japanese salaryman. And what that usually entails is someone who is very knowledgeable and can spit out any work knowledge at the drop of a pen. They're super respectful and highly respected, and also they know how to perform what is expected as common sense of a elite business salaryman, and they know how to operate and speak to those above and those below, and they're just this perfect image, and everyone is in the pursuit of this, or at least pretends to be in the pursuit of it. I think most people really are, but I can't say that for everyone. But I think that also kind of affects how people just speak in general. Of course, you see this with any human being, where they will kind of defend themselves for not being perfect by setting up what they're about to say with how maybe dumb the opinion may be, or kind of really kind of putting yourself down before answering, to let the other listener know that you know that what you're about to say isn't the best answer. I know I do this all the time too, but it's it, I feel like in a culture that promotes this pursuit of a perfect salaryman, uh, you you see people doing it a lot more and emphasizing it a lot more. And it kind of makes me sad sometimes that people have to do that to that extent, at least. And I guess what I'm trying to do within that office space is show people that it's okay to be human and be a little bit more vulnerable, and even while being human you could still do work and show output and be friendly and positive while being productive. At least that's what I'm trying to do. But I think it's quite difficult, and it's getting to me too a little bit, because I have this kind of pressure where I'm in an environment with people all different expectations and pursuits and kind of different levels in work career all around me. So and many of them are looking at me with expectations of who I will become. And so when I'm kind of showing this persona of vulnerability or curiosity or friendliness, sometimes I think people get disappointed because they're so used to this culture of people doing anything they can to show an ideal salaryman image, and I'm kind of veering away from it. So it seems almost like I don't know, making it a joke maybe, or maybe that me not pursuing this is kind of reprehensible, especially as the next owner who should be this ideal salaryman image. So I know that some people are kind of disappointed, especially those who value this culture and model extremely. I also have people who have even commented after I was talking to a different individual, where and this was one of the situations where I was just kind of surprised that they just jumped into a conversation I was having with my manager, where the manager was asking me about a lecture I learned about and what were the contents regarding it. And the kind of answer I was giving along with another coworker was, I guess, too plain or basic for another employee listening in. And of course, many issues with my response. I'm sure there were many issues, but I was also kind of trying to balance my answer to match my coworkers. I wasn't trying to make it a competition, and there's a power dynamic between my manager and my coworker, so I didn't want to disrupt that either. And yet this third party individual kind of comes in and talks about how we should be looking and learning at a higher level and should be thinking beyond that scope, and that we should have been able to kind of almost answer in a way that was much more sophisticated than what we were saying. And sure, he's probably right on many levels, especially for me. There's a lot of expectations of me, and I need to be able to do that. But at the same time, it's just I think that person chiming in like that puts pressure on everyone listening into the conversation too, not just me, my manager, my coworker, but like just everyone feeling like, oh, like unless we give a very highly sophisticated answer, we're gonna get judged, kind of thing, you know. And I mean, for me, it's fine. I don't care. I'm going to try to go at my pace and answer in the way I think is appropriate. And of course, I'll use what the individual said to me as an incentive to try to do better next time. But not everyone can do that, I don't think. Not everyone is in a position where they have established enough confidence to kind of be able to brush off what others are saying or and whatnot. And I see that a lot in the culture I work in, because I think this power hierarchy culture especially reinforces people on the lower level rank to kind of be more submissive, that I think ends up affecting their personalities too over time if you're like that for 10, 20, 30 years. So seeing things like that was kind of, I guess, frustrating. So yeah, as I mentioned before, I guess, so there's an issue of those who focus a lot on image and who get disappointed in me. That was an example of someone who works at a very high level, and of course there's nothing wrong with that, and I want that, but they also need to read the room, kind of, I think, to some extent, to understand. And now what I say gets judged by that too. And I think there's also those people who are just because of all these political power dynamics and expectations. I only mentioned two. There's of course a lot more that I don't even know where to start, but it just becomes so confusing and just stressful and tiring that there are many in the office too who are just silent and don't even bother participating or commenting unless they have to or need to, because they just don't want to deal with that bullshit, pretty much. And maybe I shouldn't be saying that it's bullshit. This politics, I guess. Not saying that politics is bullshit, but anyways, but then again, those people, I think, also they're judging and scouting and weighing the environment, and so when they see the situation, it just kind of reinforces their I don't want to be part of this culture or part of this kind of thing anymore. I'm just here to work and get out of here ASAP because I don't want to deal with it. And that's also something I don't want, and so I need to kind of be wary of too. So those were like the main groups I could think of right now that I really want to kind of be careful with the way I kind of especially talk, because I want to make sure that I could show them a way, you know. And I tried. So for example, after that situation, kind of, I didn't break. I didn't show weakness, I guess. But I listened, and I didn't deny, and I accepted. And of course, I just have to move on. I can't please everyone, and I can't do anything. But at the same time, I made an effort to then go back to at least the two other groups to kind of talk with them. Of course, other people are listening in when I go to talk to them again, but I kind of show interest and ask them how I could improve on maybe kind of answering or what they were talking about previously. And I even got materials from that individual, so I think I appealed to his kind of expectations or want. I'm sure this individual also wanted to show me that they're very capable, probably, the way they interact. But and then with the other group where they're more interested in kind of the imagery of being this ideal model businessman, I kind of tried to show that respect, even though there's tension between these two. I kind of to have conversation to show that I'm not leaning one way or the other. I don't even know what I'm. It's kind of hard to explain, but pretty much what I'm trying to say is like I went back to kind of talk and show people that who I am, and that I could still have this kind of personality of showing a more human, positive, friendly side while working that might not always be at the highest level of knowledge and skill level, or this high level of showing this pursuit of model businessman, but still be able to appease to some values of both, and then show this third party that it's possible to kind of somehow manage the politics while still being yourself and not have to just avoid everything. And I think it's also in the future a leader's fault, leader's responsibility to kind of also deal and smooth out these politics for everyone else, because not everyone might not have the capability to navigate all this. And also I think it's the leader's responsibility to kind of change it to one where it accommodates everyone, or a lot more people than just certain parties. Anyways, that was a mouthful, and at the bottom line, I think if I want to continue to try to maintain my personality and continue to try to become a role model or an example of how to work in a positive, friendly manner without being afraid, I really need to raise my skill and capability level, and also output, and be able to create more output to kind of push away everyone's negative expectations or negative image of my work style. So I just need to work harder, and I think that's what I'm gonna try to do, but also be careful of what I say, I guess, a little bit more, or maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. There's a balance. I'll figure it out. Thanks for listening as always, and I'll catch you guys up again another time. Cheers.